Is that a Matchbox?
No, this is a
Okay.
Autoworld. And it is in there. Look at that. Some of these Autoworld cars can sell for 20 bucks a piece
That's nice.
in this condition
That is nice.
with the box. And there's more in there. Well, you just saw where I bought all the cars that are going to be in this episode, except for one. And there's another video that has that car in it. I'll point that out when it comes around. But these Autoworld and Johnny Lightning and Castline and Racing Champions cars in this particular episode are just incredible detail. If you look at that, even just the tail lights, you can see the backup lights and the word Cadillac. You can see the pinstriping. This is a 1976 Coupe DeVille made by Autoworld. And even as this comes around, you can see the dash vents and the, I don't know if anybody's ever actually had one of these cars, but those seats are spot on with the way that the lines in the seats go and everything to mimic the leather. And this one, you can barely see it there, but the license plate says Boss Man on the 68 Cadillac Eldorado. This is another Autoworld car. Not as much detail in this one as far as, pinstriping and stuff like that goes, but it's still a really nice example of, you can see the Boss Man there again, of the late 60s Cadillac Eldorado. This is a Johnny Lightning AMC Rebel, and this is the only one that I didn't get in my $55 unit, which is the first set of videos I put up. And there will be a link to the videos where I bought these, and probably to a playlist for that whole series. This one I got when I was picking at the picking place, and I could probably put a link to that video in the description as well. But this one, totally different. This is the only Johnny Lightning in the group, but still, really good detail. This is, made later. This isn't the original Topper Johnny Lightning. This is probably made by Playing Mantis, but beautiful car. The Ford F100, made by Castline. This thing, in reality, you can actually see the tread on the tires. You can actually see the lug nuts on the wheels. I think this is just a product of better technology in manufacturing these things. They couldn't have manufactured this back in the late 60s when, the Hot Wheels red lines came out and achieved that kind of detail and done it for what they sold the red lines for. This is all just a product of, like I said, technology. And of course, these are all made in China. All the Autoworld and probably the Racing Champions as well. But very fine detail. These aren't toys. These are adult collectibles all the way. 1969 Chevy Camaro. Again, Castline, made by the same people that made the truck that you just saw. A nice little decal on the side there. The bootlegger decal. You notice the red stripes on the tires. These guys weren't even trying to mimic redline Hot Wheels. What they were trying to mimic here was the actual red lines that came on the late 60s cars. Or I guess they didn't come on. I think that's something you had to put on. But the late 60s muscle cars actually had red stripes around the wheels on the real ones. So that's where the Hot Wheels got the idea, and the same thing with this. And I think the hood even opens on this. Some of these it's hard to tell because even if the hoods don't open, they're still cast differently so that they look like they would open. Now here's an Autoworld 1969 Oldsmobile 442. And I actually have a couple of these, and I have the box for one of them. I think this is the nicer one that was in the box. The other one's got a few scratches on it. You see on the license plate there, it even says 442 Olds. Or does it? No, it says 69 Olds. I should probably check these things before I do the video. But again, you know, perfect detail, red stripes on the tires. Detailed interior, you see the lines in the seats cast in the original pattern of the vinyl on the seats on these things. The 1962 Chevy Impala. This is also an Autoworld. I just can't get over how the seats look in these things. How they cast all that. The little Impala emblem on the back. When I was a kid, my dad bought it new, but then he passed it down to my sister, and my sister had it by the time I came along. But it was a 1964 Chevy Biscayne, but I swear it was identical to this. Maybe a little bit different looking. But that thing was a tank. And of course, these are the cars that the West Coast likes to trick out and put the hydraulics on. The front ends bounce up and down. Pretty much same with this. This is a 1960 Chevy Impala. Only this is made by Racing Champions. And they're all supposed to be 1/64 scale. But each manufacturer's idea of what 64 is different enough so that when you put a car from one manufacturer next to a car from another manufacturer, they wind up being slightly different scales. One's going to be a little bit bigger than the other one. And this is a little bit bigger than the 1962 Impala that we just looked at. And this is a Racing Champions again, 1966 Plymouth Satellite. Well, I'm surprised at how many of these cars actually have the red lines on the tires, but you know, again, that's not trying to fool anybody. That's just the way they were. I don't know how many of these I showed back in the videos of my $55 unit, but oh, look at the license plate, beep beep, because it's a Roadrunner. Cool. But yeah, I'd kind of urge you to go back and take a look at those first videos I did. I go back and look, and I wish I could go back and redo them because I'm hopefully getting better at this as time goes on. But that was the best storage unit I ever bought so far. Hands down, the best. I don't know what just happened there. We had a few seconds of Mustang, but this is the Ford Torino Cobra made by Castline. As I understand it, to get a real Torino Cobra, you're probably looking at into the six figures by now for the actual car. I think some of these had a special front end. Some of the actual NASCAR cars had a special front end that was more cone shaped, and I guess there's only a handful of those around. And those are six figures easy for a real car. There's the Mustang. I don't know what happened where it flashed on there earlier, but there's the Mustang Mach 1. This is the one in the little snippet at the beginning that I showed from my $55 unit, the one that's linked in the description. But when I was there that day opening this locker up and going through everything, I kind of knew then that it wasn't a everyday thing. It was kind of a once in a lifetime thing, and you go through it and you hope you experience something like that twice in a lifetime or three times, which is, I guess you just got to keep trying. But what a beautiful diecast car. These are all, again, fairly new, made in the late, probably all these cars are made 2015 and later. So there's not an incredible amount of value there compared to some of the older stuff, but they still look really nice in a display case and worth collecting just because of the detail on them. These aren't your typical Matchbox or Hot Wheels cars. In this one, what is this? A 1971 Dodge Charger made by Castline. And that Mustang was an Autoworld that we just watched. Here we have a 1969 Pontiac Firebird. And this one is also made by Autoworld. And what I'm kind of going for here is just I guess the kind of video that you just can't stop watching. I personally can sit here and stare at this and just kind of get lost in this all day. Just watching the shine dance across the red paint on this car is comforting to me for some reason. Which is why I collect these things. I don't necessarily collect them because I treat them as an investment, even though they are. Even though I try to have a lot less in them than what I could sell them for. I collect them for their therapeutic value. And this one's the 1969 Pontiac GTO, and this one's made by Castline. I have a friend that had one of these, a convertible version of one of these, and he had it for years and years and years and years and years. Then finally one day he just said, let's sell the Pontiac, and I put it on eBay for him, and it went for a ton of money. And I don't know how he could have just sold it after having it for all those years, but he just didn't care, just wanted it gone. So here we have the 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner by Castline. I've got this yellow one, and then coming up there's a blue one that's identical other than the color. And for some reason, Castline decided to make the hoods black on both these cars. But again, slight little red stripe on the tires. They even have the hubs painted silver. And if you look closely, you can even see the lug nuts on the wheels. And there's the blue one, same thing. This is a 77 Dodge Monaco. It looks like it might have been a police car or something, or a park ranger car. But this is the one I'm holding in the current thumbnail for the video that I'm linking in the description, where I found these cars. And there were other videos of that same series where I found NASCAR and vintage T-shirts and collectible wrestling cards, wrestling T-shirts, wrestling figures. He was into NASCAR and wrestling, and that was pretty much it. But this one's made by Greenlight as well. And penguins. His mom collected penguins, and I think he had his mom's penguin collection in there. Now this is a neat car right here. You notice the license plate says something about vacation on it. And the real car, this I've got pegged as like a 1974 Buick Estate Wagon. It's made by Autoworld. The real car, the back window would go up into the roof, and the tailgate would go down under the floor. And there was a manual version and a power version. And with the power version, you stuck the key in, and turned it one way and the window would go up. You turned it the other way and the tailgate would go down. And then you do something else. I forget how you'd get it to come back. But then there was a, look at the license plate. The front of the license plate, I think, says head east, and then when it comes around the back, it says head west. But the manual version, it still had a power raise for the window, but then you'd click the tailgate and it would just fall down into the floor. And you'd have to grab it by a handle and pull it up. And that was on the, I think all the Buicks had the power, but like the Chevys and maybe some of the Oldsmobiles, you might have the manual tailgate. But those were a nightmare to fix because there was always something going wrong with them. But yeah, I've always loved station wagons as real cars. And here we have a 1967 Chevy Nova. This one's made by Castline. And it looks like the doors should open. In fact, the doors do open on this one. Doors open on this one and the hood opens on this one. And this one's in pretty decent condition. Coming up, I'm going to show you one that probably started out about the same color. And then somebody, for some reason, decided to paint it gold. And you get that sometimes, even especially with the older stuff. Not so much with the adult collectibles, because people usually know how to take care of these. But back when these were kids' toys, the kids just painted them. And you'll get some, there's the gold one that's been painted. You'll get some really, what would have been really, really nice Hot Wheels or old Matchbox, where some kid just painted it with a model paint or something like that. And there's ways to try to get that off. And, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose when you take it off. I usually just leave them alone. Like I'm just going to leave this one alone. It's part of the history of the car. So it's going to stay just like that. It's nice to see the engine under the hood, though. It's nice and detailed. And this is a 1966 Chevy Nova made by Racing Champions. And I don't know if you notice or not, but this is slightly bigger than the other two cars. And, we all know in real life the 66 and 67 Novas weren't really that much different in size. They just changed a few things around. So that's, again, one of those examples of the scale of one manufacturer not quite matching the scale of another. But again, a thin red stripe on the wheels to mimic the red lines of the day. Almost perfect detail. And, even the grille and the emblems and everything. Windshield wipers. And last but not least, we have the Bluesmobile. The 1974 Dodge Monaco. This one's made by Greenlight. And the car, believe it or not, is clean. They make it like this. They make it to look like it's been through what Jake and Elwood put that car through in the movie. Right down to the shot out rear window from when they were running from the good old boys Blues Brothers band. Of course, this was after they attempted to sign the check on the glove box. Double signature check, they drank an awful lot of beer.